today's video I'm going to show you how you can apply a subtle makeup look for different occasions. This could be, for example, for a job interview, or if you are going to church, or if you have a beautiful dinner but you don't want to apply too much makeup but you just want to look fresh and healthy. Now this is also the tutorial that I've created for you guys. I have my tools in front of me, and I also believe that with the makeup look that I came up with, it is also very versatile because it is not too much, but you can take some of the product off, or you can also add more depending also on the situation. For example, let's say for a job interview. Not every job interview is the same. Let's say you're going for a fast food chain, or you're a sales agent, or you want to be a cashier, then of course the makeup will also depend on the situation. And also sometimes people aren't sure if they should wear makeup to those occasions or not, because it isn't totally formal, but they still want to look fresh and also even on their face with just a tiny bit of makeup. And this is what I've put together. Also, this was a requested video by Christy, so this is also why I came up with the whole idea. So thank you so much, Christy. And if you guys don't know me yet, my name is Melissa van Dijk and I'm a makeup artist. And I just wanted to start off with sharing the tools that I'm going to use, and of course the products. So for the first step, it depends also on what your base is or not. Let's say you're going for a BB cream or a light foundation, then of course don't forget to apply some moisturizer that's suitable to your skin type. Then for the base, you can go, as already mentioned, BB cream, light foundation, or if you want to go even lighter, you can also use a tinted moisturizer. Then you can also apply a little bit of concealer to the areas where you need a little bit more of coverage, but you don't want to overdo it, which you then are going to set with some powder, and you're going to use a little brush with this one as well. Now, of course, the BB cream you can apply also, or the tinted moisturizer, you can apply it with your fingers or brush, or you can also take a makeup sponge with you. Make sure that it's a damp one if you're going to use a sponge. Then you're going to set the face, depending also on your skin type, with a powder brush. Then we are going to use a little bit of a brow gel. This can be a clear one or tinted one. I picked a duo eyeshadow palette. You will see the colors later on, but it just will be very subtle, natural and easy. You can apply it with your fingers if you like to, depending on what you're going for, or you can also use a blending brush with you so that you can blend out the edges. Then to open up the eyes, we are going to use a bit of mascara. For cheeks, we are going to use a little bit of blush, and for lips, you can use a tinted lip balm or a lipstick. Now let's get started with step number one. Now for step number one, it's basically preparing your base before you're moving on to any makeup products. Now what's really important is that if you're going with a BB cream because it has a little bit more coverage but still looks very natural, or a very light foundation, then it's important that you're first going to start off with a clean face, and second that you're going to use a moisturizer that's suitable for your skin type, so that you have a beautiful base going on and that the end result will look beautiful as well. Now if you're not going to use a BB cream or a foundation, but you're going to use a tinted moisturizer, then you can go in with the tinted moisturizer directly, and this is also the one that I've picked. So as I said, if you're using the tinted moisturizer, skip the normal moisturizer. If you're going to use something that has a little bit more coverage, make sure that you're using a normal moisturizer for your skin type as well. So for the base, I'm going to apply the moisturizer, the tinted one, evenly on my face so that it will give me a little bit of tint, but not too much, so that it still will look very natural, which I'm going to apply on my fingers, and I'm also going to blend it in with my fingers. I'm going to apply it everywhere, and then I'm going to use circular motions and blend it into the skin. Now a tinted moisturizer can be very handy. It also depends on how even your actual skin is. If you feel the need that you need a little bit more coverage, then you can also go with a BB cream or a light foundation. I would stay away from heavy foundations, as this can look first too heavy, and second it can also look very easily overdone, which we don't want because you still want to look very natural. So once the tinted moisturizer or your base is blended in with your fingers, as I said, you can also use a brush or a sponge if you feel the need, then you can do so as well. Now for the next step, we are going to play around with a little bit of concealer. Now concealer, for me personally, the ones that I've picked and also why I wanted to include it in this tutorial, is very important because you want to keep it very light, but if you have certain areas where you feel the need, you need a little bit more coverage, as I said, like for example with a little pimple right here or any discoloration right here or also on top of the eyes, then concealer is great to help you to cover up those areas. So what we're going to do is I'm going to focus on the main area, which is the eye area. And this is where most people are struggling with a little bit of redness, blueness or any discoloration, and you just want to make sure that you're looking fresh and awake. So I'm going to take the concealer and I'm also going to blend it in with a damp sponge, and I'm going to focus it right in the inner corner. Now I'm going to take the damp sponge and I'm going to press it into the skin while blending it. You can do this with your finger as well. If you don't have any long nails, then please go also with your finger. Otherwise, I would recommend that you're going to use a brush or a sponge. Now, if you want to look very natural but not too much, for let's say you have the job interview or want to go to church, which is something where you want to be a little bit like feeling glamorous but not too much but still look very natural, then concealer is also a great way on how it can help you to get rid of any certain areas which you don't like about your skin, so that you will have an even skin later on. So now I have applied it also on top of my eyes. This is something that's optional. It just depends also on if you have any discoloration on top of your eyelids or not. For me personally, the reason why I always like to mention it is because I find that if I'm going to use it also on top of my eyes, it will make me look much more awake. Just because I'm getting rid of the discoloration, which can make me look very tired, even though I am not. Like this. Now we have evened out the under eye area and also on top of the eyes, and for me personally I like to see this difference because it makes me feel much more energetic, and it also gives me a fresh appearance. Now we are going to do the same also on the other side, going to focus it on the inner corner where the darkness appears, and then you're going to blend it, of course. Now, for example, if you're going to church or if you want to have a beautiful dinner, this doesn't have to be like with your family or friends. This could also be with your colleagues from work, and you still don't know like what you want to wear, but still if you have a brief idea on what you're going to apply as a makeup base, then you can also match your clothes to how you applied your makeup, because normally you're also looking like totally together if the makeup is on and your clothes are on, and this is what makes you feel glamorous, natural, awake or fresh. So that's why I've also mentioned at the very beginning that you can also take some products that I've mentioned away and you can also add other products instead. For example, if you're not the type of person that wants to use a tinted moisturizer, that's totally fine, but I still would give you the recommendation that you shouldn't go for a full coverage foundation. You can go for a very light base, which still will look very natural, but make sure that you're not going to use it too much, that it still will look like skin and not like a mask, because we still want to keep it very natural looking. Now going to focus it a little bit more towards the inner part, because this is where the darkness is as well. And so basically everywhere where you have a little bit of an uneven skin tone, this is also where you can use the concealer instead, because it will help you to cover it up. Now I'm also going to show you right here with a little bit of redness. So even though I have used a tinted moisturizer, I'm going over this area right here, and I'm going to use the sponge and go over it, so that I'm not using the concealer everywhere, but only on those areas where I really feel the need. Now we can put the concealer aside and we can start setting the concealer. Now it depends also on your skin type. If you have more like an oily skin type, then I would recommend that you're going to set the whole makeup base. If you have more like the dry skin type, then I would recommend that if you're going to use concealer, that you're going to set the concealer, because this is what can crease this, because you have a lot of movement around the eyes. So I have a little bit of powder right here. This can also be pressed powder or banana powder, depending also on your skin tone, so that it will matches and that you won't look ashier, but that you will look very nice, healthy, and also glowy. Now first I'm going to set this area right here, and then I'm going to move on top. Now see that the concealer has already creased. That's not a problem. You're just going to use a sponge, your fingers, a brush again, and you're going to blend it into the skin. Like if you're going to do it in front of the mirror and you're going to do it in your own time, you can do it like once at a time, so that you're going to apply the concealer, that you're going to blend it in and then set it directly. Now for under the eyes the same. Going to use a little bit of powder, doing my strange face while I'm doing it. But I'm not going to set everything on my face, because let's say for me I have the combination skin and my oiliest part is at the T-zone right here. So what I'm going to do later on with a bigger brush is I'm going to focus on the midsection of my face, but my cheeks are normally pretty dry, so this is where I wanted to keep the glow and the dewiness. If you have an oily skin type, you want to set it overall. If you have a totally like dry skin type, then you want to use as less powder as possible, which also means around your eyes. And normally if you have a dry skin, a tinted moisturizer is also a great option for you guys as well, as this will moisturize your skin while give you a slightly light tint. And depends also on the concealer that you're going to use. If you have a dry skin, I would recommend going in either with a concealer that's dewy, that's a little bit sticky, or you can go in with a concealer that has like a creamy texture, so that it won't dry out your under eye area. So now we are going to move on to the next step, which is setting the main face area. So this is already what I mentioned. I'm going to use the big fluffy brush, going into some powder, having it on the brush, and I'm going to focus on the main areas. If you have an oily face, go all over. If you have a dry face, you don't have to do the T-zone as well. You just can skip the powder, but make sure that the concealer is set. Now we can move on to a little bit of brow gel. Now when it comes to brow gel, this can be a tinted one or a clear one, depending also on how many brow hairs you have. If you feel the need that you want to go in with a brow pencil, you can do so, but please don't overdo it. Still, like, let it be very natural. You can give it a little bit of a tint, or you can extend it if some hairs are missing, but don't overdo it, because this is not what we are going for. We still want to keep it very natural. I have this one right here, which is a tinted one, and I'm going to brush through my brow hairs as well. Now if you're going to use a clear brow gel, then this is more a little bit like how you're going to place the brow hairs. If you're going to use a tinted one, then it also will add a little bit of color. But this is something that's your preference, and also how many brow hairs, and also how like basically structured you want to have your brow hairs as well. Now we can move on to the eyes. So when it comes to the eyes, then I've picked a duo, which I also would recommend you guys as well, or if you want to go with a single eyeshadow, that's fine as well. I just went with a very natural duo, which basically has a champagne shade and a brown tone, which is this one right here. So that you can also have it in your purse if you feel like you need to have a little bit of eyeshadow with you, or if you want to do it a little bit on the go, then this is also very handy to have a duo or single eyeshadows ready and also with you. Now, as I said, with this step you can apply it with your fingers if you like to, or you can also use one or two brushes with you, like having it on hand, so that you can create a beautiful and even makeup look. Now with this one, I'm going to use the lighter shade on my main lid area and the darker one on my outer corner area, so that I can define my eyes a little bit more. So when it comes to the main shade, I'm going to use my finger for it, because that's just as easy as we can get. It's like, why put a lot of effort if you have your fingers with you? So you don't always have to use for every single step your brushes. You can also use your finger. And I'm going to apply it on the main lid area, and creating an even look at first. So this is more like the base color, and also because it has a little bit of shimmer in it, it also will open up the eyes a little bit more as well. Now the duo, if you want to go for a duo, you don't have to use the same colors as I just recommend you. You can also go with other tones, with a little bit darker tones. It also depends on your own skin tone, what also complements your skin tone as well. But if you want to keep it very to the brown tones and a little bit more earthy-like when it comes to the tones, then this is also something that I would recommend you. Now doing the same side as well, having it on the finger, and also applying it on the main lid area. Now if you haven't used any concealer or eye primer, depending on what you prefer on your base lid area, then that's also totally fine, because you know your skin the best. If you have a dry skin on your eyelid areas, then you might not necessarily need the concealer or need the primer in your own like makeup routine. But if you do have any discolorations, or you want to make the eyeshadow long lasting because you're suffering from oily eyelids, then this is also something that I can recommend you as well. Now I'm going to use the brush, which is more like a smudging blending brush, just so that I can soften the edges. And now I'm going into the darker shade, which I have now on the brush right here, and I'm going to focus it on the outer corner. So at first I'm going to tap it on top, and I'm also going to blend it into the other shade. And this is more like defining my eyelid area. If you have hooded eyes, this is also a great technique for you guys as well, or for any other eye shape. Two eyeshadows are always a beautiful combination, and those can be matte or shimmer ones, so you don't specifically have to use matte ones or shimmery ones. That's also something that's your personal preference. And this is also the look that I want to recommend you guys, so that you have an idea of like what I'm talking about. Now this is also a great look that you can wear for so many different occasions, because it isn't too much. Like for example, the colors that I've chosen are very simple, are very subtle, are not too much like too eye-catching, but still will define your eye. So let's say for a job interview and you aren't sure if you should wear makeup or not, then this is already a good start on finding the balance on having a little bit of makeup but not too much. Skin looks like skin, but you have just corrected it a little bit with some tinted products, and then you're also going to use a bit of eyeshadow. Now, of course, if you want to go with only one eyeshadow, go for it. Just make sure that you're also blending the edges, because this will make it a little bit more soft looking and also fresh looking, but still is very eye-catching. So on the other side the same, I'm going to tab it, and then I'm going to blend it. And this is, as I already mentioned, it just will define the eye and also will make your eyes pop as well. Now for this step, when it comes to the darker shade for the outer corner, if you can apply it with your fingers, you can do so as well. The reason why I just like to choose a brush is because I have long fingernails, and I wouldn't recommend like applying your makeup with the long fingernails, especially if it's about blending, because you can't really reach every edge of your eyes, which I find a little bit difficult. But if you don't have any long nails, then just go with your fingers. Now, having a closer look if the eyes are even. Yes. So once the eye makeup is on, we just wanted to finish it off with a little bit of mascara, because this will open up the eye and this just will make your makeup speak for yourself. If you want to use a little bit of eyeshadow on the lower lash line, you can do so as well, but you don't have to, as you just want to balance it out with a tiny bit of makeup on the eyes. Now, having a mascara right here, Make sure that you have a mascara that you also can trust, where you know that you're not going to look like a raccoon later on, because I can imagine for an interview, you're sitting in front of your boss, you want to impress him or her by what you're talking about, and then if you're getting nervous, then you can also like get very hot and uncomfortable, and you just want to make sure that your makeup lasts while you're going through that situation. And this could be also for a dinner evening, because if you're laughing, if you're drinking a little bit or eating, then you're getting hot very quickly. So it's also important, the makeup product that you're going to use, that you also can trust them. So I'm going to apply a little bit of mascara to my upper and lower lashes. Which I have to concentrate. And also one tip so that you won't mess up your whole eye makeup with the mascara is that you're looking down into a mirror and then go through your lashes. And then wait until the upper part is dry and then move towards the lower lashes. So give it a little bit. And now you can also apply a little bit on the lower lashes. I definitely wouldn't skip the lower lashes, because then it will look even. Because if the upper lashes are pretty long and the lower lashes are nearly not there, this can look strange. So I definitely would recommend you not skipping the lower lashes. At least a tiny bit, so that they are noticeable as well. So once the mascara is on, once the mascara has dried, we can move on to a little bit of blush. Now when it comes to blush, you can either use a cream blush, which you can apply with your finger, or if you want to go with powder, then you can also use, this could be either a bigger brush like this, or you can also use a blush brush. This is totally up to you. I'm not getting mad at what brush you're going to use. As long as you have a brush that fits to your cheek area and that you can blend your blush beautifully, this is what counts. I'm going for a shimmery one. You don't have to use a shimmery one. If you want to go for a matte one, you can do so as well. And it just will add a little bit of color to your cheeks and also a little bit more of a glow if you're going for a glowy one. Now, of course, when it comes to the type of blush that you want to go for, if you have, for example, oily skin, you can go with a powder blush. If you have very, very dry cheeks, then you can also go with a cream blush. And then make sure that you're going to apply the cream blush before, after you have applied your base, and then go in with a little bit of blush. And if you're not setting your face at all, then this is totally fine. But if you are wanted to set your face area, even though you're dry, because you just feel that this will work the best for you, then I'll make sure that you're going to apply the blush before you're going to powder your face, so that you will have also an even finish. Now I have a little bit of blush on the brush, and I'm just going to apply it on the apples of my cheeks. You can also smile while you're going to apply it. And we are going to blend it towards the cheek area and also towards the hairline, just a tiny bit. Towards the hairline is more like blending the blush rather than having it all on one point. On the other side as well. And then with the blush, you have also added a little bit of color. Of course, if you have already naturally red cheeks and you don't want to cover the red cheek area up with too much product, you still want it that it looks true a little bit, then you can also skip the blush, because you have already naturally redness on your cheeks. So just make it look a little bit more natural by using a very light base, but still you don't have to use blush if you have already red cheeks. Now when it comes to the lipstick, you can go with a lipstick or with a lip balm. The shade that I've picked is very natural. It's nothing it's not a full-on red lipstick. So I went with something that's very close to not really my natural lip color, but also will work with the rest of my makeup together. Of course, if you aren't sure what lipstick you should pick, but you know already your blush, then you can also match the blush with your lips as well. So I'm just going to focus it at first on the upper lip and then moving on to the lower lip. So now once the lipstick is on, if you feel the need that you need a lip liner or you want to use a lip brush with it as well, then you can do so. Just because I haven't used it doesn't mean that you can't use it. This is just, I want to keep the main focus on the product and how you can apply it as the main part, so that you know how you can look at the end. And now I'm just going to take my little bobby pins right out of my hair, making my hair beautiful. And while I'm putting my hair together, I also wanted to share with you the before and after. So now you saw the before and after, and I also hope that you can see how it enhances my natural beauty. It still isn't too much, but you have a little bit of makeup on. Even though you are not that type of person that are not wears a lot of makeup, a tinted moisturizer or light base, this is something that you most of the time have at home, or blush and lipstick. And then if it comes to an eyeshadow, most people, I personally believe, have at least a single eyeshadow at home or a duo. Most people also have never touched it or used it before. So this is also now your time where you can play around with some makeup products that you haven't used at all. And still, if you have any questions with some of the makeup products that you have at home and you don't know how you should use them, then also feel free to ask me, because I'm also here to help you out. And this is also the total makeup look that I came together for you guys, so that if you have an occasion going on and you aren't sure if you should wear makeup or not, this is also a beautiful balance with not wearing too much but still enhancing the natural beauty. And then having also a beautiful dress on, or something a little bit more chic than usual, then this also gives the beautiful combination. Now this is the tutorial, and those are the steps that I've prepared for you guys. I hope that you can recreate it at home, and as I said, if you want to add something or take a product out, you're feel free to do so. I just wanted to give you the main advice, basically the main advice during the steps to get a beautiful makeup going on. Now, thank you so much for watching. I'm really happy that I can share this with you guys, and I will see you soon in the next one. Bye!